We're gonna make a soup today that I call bastard minestrone. And I used to call this minestrone. When people hear minestrone, they normally think of a bland canned soup that they ate as kids that has kind of crappy noodles in it. Oh really, minestrone, ha. The second thing is I found out this might not really be minestrone. I have some people I've been chatting with, and one of them is from Italy, from Tuscany. He took one look at it, and then he said back to me,
Ma no, dai, mi sta sanguinando l'anima a vedere una cosa del genere.
So, the soup is probably not from Tuscany, and maybe it's not even Italian at all, but in France, in Provence, there's something called a Pistou soup. And Pistou is sort of like French for pesto. This is an American's misconception of two different European food cultures at the same time. So it's perfect for a Jew like me. We're not welcome anywhere. I have now donned it bastard minestrone. You make the soup, and while the soup is cooking down, you make the pesto. You take a spoon of this pesto and you stir it in. The basil and the tomato and the cheese hit your nose, and you just... You can easily modify it to be vegan, plant-based, and so it's a great option for you people. So I'm gonna start by chopping up some vegetables. I like to cut the celery into thirds, like so. Nice crosswise here. Get those aside. The soup relies on carrots for getting a little bit of its sweetness. If it's a carrot that goes from thick to thin, I cut it about halfway through, and on the thin one, I just cut it in half, and the thick one I also just cut in half. These thin ones I cut in half one more time, and the thick ones I cut in half two more times. And then you don't have gigantic differences in the size of your carrot pieces.
That's a beautiful carrot.
I know, right?
Candy.
Can you even cut a carrot like this?
You can, but yeah. Ooh.
Don't try it at home, kids.
That was very French Revolution of you.
French Revolution? Like, oh man, poor Robespierre or whatever. I'm not doing that. See, this is what happens. Like sand through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Can you slice now, or are you just thinking of all the people on Reddit that are going to criticize your chopping skills?
I'm fine with that. It's a digital world. They're just protecting my digits. Look at how beautiful that is. Don't you want to just eat this right out of the bowl like it's some sort of weird dry salad? It's great. That's not bad, right?
Root ninja.
Root ninja! Oh. Put the root down, cut right through the middle. Then put the wet side down and cut off the non-root side. And then when you're peeling it, you just want to make sure you get all the colored bits. I no longer cut in this way because I find it to be somewhat unnecessary in getting the onions chopped. And also, it's a very easy time to cut your fingers. I just don't do that anymore. Just cut crosswise. I don't cut into the root. I leave that there. And then I use that to hold the onion together. I can turn it the other way, and I can just cut down into little chunks. And then when I get to the end, rather than try to really push it, I just kind of flip the onion on the flat side where it's stable again and get the extra bits on the end. We're gonna start by cooking our onions. Let's get over to the stuff. So now we got our pot on medium heat, and we're gonna get a 1/4 cup of olive oil, get it in there, get our onions in the pan. So it should be a very gentle little crackle sizzle. Let's get a little bit of salt, heavy pinch there. You know, soup is basically just really great salt water. And a crack of pepper, crack, crack. And we just want to get these onions down to kind of a translucent color. We don't want to brown our vegetables for the soup. That's too roasty. We want to get as close to it as we can. And onions tend to hold into their moisture for a while, so that's why we're throwing them in first. Now, while that's going, we want to get some tomatoes cooked down. And I'm cooking them separately because it's hard to get them to cook down as much as I want to if I mix them with everything else. Put about a tablespoon of olive oil in a small saucepan, and we'll throw in a bunch of tomatoes. The heat will kill the germs. So this is also in medium-ish heat, and we want to cook them down until they start to get stewy. We'll add them to the soup later. As I've said before, tomatoes love salt, right? As the tomatoes get a little wrinkly, you want to kind of press on them and get some of their juices out. Our onions have gotten a little bit translucent, so we can put in the rest of the vegetables now. Beautiful, beautiful vegetables. Let's get a little bit more salt in there, because you know, soup is salt water. Get some pepper in there, because you know, soup is pepper water. And some more salt, because you know, soup is salt water. Stir it up to get everything nicely coated with oil, and if it seems a little dry to you, squirt, squirt. Why are you pre-cooking the vegetables before you cook the vegetables? What good is that going to do you? Have you ever roasted a vegetable before and noticed how it tastes different than when it was raw? By cooking the vegetables down and extracting some moisture from them ahead of time, we're making them a bit sweeter and more roasty. Don't underestimate the art of flavor building. Taking time to work with the ingredients, put them through many stages, can really pay off in the end. I like being involved with my ingredients. I mean, sometimes I make Alex a little bit jealous, and she's like, if you're gonna have a carrot on the side, you know, we need to have a little conversation first, right? Your job for the next 10 minutes is to kind of go back and forth and babysit your pots. It's been 7 or 8 minutes. I'm gonna throw in the chopped garlic now. Put that in there, and I don't put it in the beginning because I don't like garlic to get overcooked before I put it in. There's always a risk if I leave it on the bottom too long to get burned, and burnt garlic is bitter. In my case, the tomatoes got a little bit stuck to the pan there, which is good. It means we've developed a lot of flavor in them. So in order to release that, I'm gonna put the broth in here first. Now we can add that to our vegetable mixture. Ooh. All of a sudden, it's become this beautiful orange-red liquid that reminds us of things that we used to eat out of bowls with spoons before we all moved out on our own and only eat hamburgers. So the first thing to do is turn up the soup to a high because we want to get it to boil. Just as soon as it starts boiling, you want to turn it down. Now it's time to start seasoning the broth a little extra. First, I'm going to put in a bay leaf. There we go. And there's a lot of bay leaf haters out there. I don't know where you come from. I don't know if there's some sort of region that's like anti-bay. Like, I don't know, what's anti-bay, a fjord? But do this. If you think that bay leaves don't smell or taste like anything and they're a total waste of your time, boil some water, stick a bay leaf in it for 5 or 10 minutes and drink the water. And if you can't taste or smell anything, then fine. I've got nothing to say to you. You can't taste bay. But you're gonna taste something and you're gonna smell something. And that's the subtle undertone that bay will add to your soups and your stocks and your what have you. The second thing we can do to really amp up the flavor of this soup is add some parmesan rind to it. If you are vegan plant-based, just don't do it. The soup is great without it. But if you like cheese, it's a really great thing to add. And not only that, you can chew on and eat the rind after you cook the soup. You want a sharp knife and you want to be careful because essentially you're going to be pushing hard and then bam, it's going to go through. And then we rock it back and forth and then we... And now we're gonna cube it. I guess I didn't pass geometry, but you know, Cubanesca. These will settle to the bottom of your soup. So you're gonna have to go back and stir it every once in a while because you don't want it to then adhere to the bottom of the pan. Now our soup is up to a boil, and I'm gonna turn down the heat to like a medium low. And I'm gonna toss in the Parmesan. Now we're making the actual soup. It's gonna take about 45 minutes for this to cook down. And what we wanna do is on our stove, we wanna find a temperature where the soup is bubbling. A gentle bubble, a very peaceful, gentle bubble, like the filter on a fish tank, or like a babbling brook. So I got about 2 ounces of Parmesan here, and we are gonna just put it inside of the food processor and hit the button. Okay, I hit pulse, that was the wrong button. What do you think that noise is? One day I feel like the blade is just gonna like go fly out the window, you know, bounce off, get lodged in my head like it's some kind of movie about a guy who was an aspiring YouTuber that got murdered by his own food processor one day. And then my mom's like, no, the prophecy was true. What we've started to do here is make the pistou. Pistou is French for pesto, which is Italian for paste, which is not something that you should eat. But we're gonna make a food grade paste. Next up, we wanna throw in 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. Woo! Third, we wanna get a nice handful of basil. I'd say about 25 big leaves and 1/4 cup of tomato paste. Ow, I pinched myself. I just have problems around food processors, okay? They make me nervous. The prophecy makes me nervous. So we're gonna also add 1/4 cup of olive oil. Oh my God, that smells good. I learned something in the last video. I gotta take the blade out first. The prophecy can wait. Ooh, yummy, yummy, yummy. Top it with a little bit of olive oil to sort of seal the top. So we're gonna do that right now, and it's ready for later when we want to use it to enhance our breath. I don't like noodles and minestrone. I don't like them because they tend to get overcooked, and even if you were to cook them perfectly, if you need to reheat the soup later, they tend to turn to slop then. Instead, I like to put grains in it. The important part for this is to look on the package and see how long it says that grain needs to cook. In my case, the packet said 10 minutes, so I'm putting it in 10 minutes prior to my soup being ready. Genius. Faro, time to go. Yeah, beans. And now the soup will be done when the grains are done. The first thing we're gonna do is fish around for the bay leaf because we don't want anyone to be stuck with that in their throat. And we're gonna taste it for salt. Salt changes the flavor, but it doesn't change the smell. So if your soup smells really pungent, but then it tastes bland, you know you need to add more salt. And it's not about making the soup taste salty. It's about getting that flavor up to the punchiness of the smell, and then you know, oh, I better stop right here. Nailed it. That's for you, Anthony. Get a nice tablespoon of your pistou, and when you stir it in, it's gonna cause the basil to heat up, and it'll just, I mean, it's gonna get you. It smells crazy good. Oh, that is really delicious. The soup is sweet, but it has that like funky parmesan in it, and the undertone of garlic, and it just kind of cuts through a little bit with the tomato that's in there, and it's just a complex, slightly sweet, rich, I don't know, vegetable, soupy, stewy type thing that I love. So, yeah. Make some bastard minestrone. Oh yeah, this minestrone is really, really good. The stew's really good. I think though that the carrots were bigger than normal because I didn't weigh them. I have a sweet tooth, so to me, that actually makes it really appealing. A couple carrots will escape and fall behind the stove, and you will have a secret carrot tree growing back there. And next year's harvest, you'll have your own carrots. I just add broth because, you know, I'm just like a flavor master. That's a weird word. That's a stupid name, flavor master. Can you imagine like Beastmaster versus Flavor Master? I mean, like by definition, Beastmaster would just eat Flavor Master because he's delicious, and that'd be the end of the movie. But also, you can smear it over toast and put it on in a pasta or grilled cheese sandwich, or bathe in it. You know, rub it on your dog. It's bad for enemas, though. I really wouldn't recommend that. And that's the difference between pots and pans, kids. I can't tell you about the birds and the bees or what's going on with cats and dogs, but when it comes to pots and pans, I got you covered. I'm in the joke one. Yeah. Make some minestrone, bastard.